The Imperial transport descended through Earth's atmosphere with the grace of a falling cathedral. Lewis watched from the observation deck of the Terran embassy, his calloused hands gripping the railing as the massive ship carved through storm clouds that seemed to part in deference to its arrival. "You don't have to go through with this," Anna said behind him. Her voice carried that familiar mix of concern and calculation that had kept their unit alive during the Proxima campaign. Lewis didn't turn around. "The Emperor's decree isn't a suggestion, Anna. You know that. The Emperor's daughter nearly died because of Imperial incompetence. You saved her life. That doesn't mean you owe them yours." He finally looked at her. Commander Anachin stood in full dress uniform, her posture rigid with barely contained frustration. They'd served together for 8 years, survived 3 tours in the Belt conflicts, and she'd pulled him from a destroyed frigate when everyone else thought he was dead. If anyone had earned the right to tell him he was making a mistake, it was her. "The Zarathian Empire controls 47 star systems," Lewis said quietly. "Earth has 3 colonies and a defense fleet that's held together with salvaged parts and optimism. If the Emperor wants this marriage to solidify human-Zarathian relations, I'm not going to be the reason we lose our best ally." Anna's jaw tightened. "Lewis, besides," he interrupted, allowing himself a small smile, "how many humans can say they married a 9-foot-tall alien princess?" The transport landed with a thunderous impact that rattled the embassy's reinforced windows. Through the viewport, Lewis could see the boarding ramp extending, and his stomach performed acrobatics that no amount of zero-G training had prepared him for. Princess Karnala emerged first. Even by Zarathian standards, she was extraordinary. Her chitinous exoskeleton gleamed like polished obsidian, bioluminescent patterns tracing intricate spirals across her shoulders and arms. Her arms moved with fluid grace as she descended the ramp, her elongated skull crested with crystalline protrusions that caught the light like a crown. Her eyes, compound and multifaceted, swept across the landing pad with an intelligence that made Lewis's breath catch. This was the being he'd pulled from a collapsed mining shaft on Kepler 442b, working for 3 hours in a radiation-soaked tunnel while the rest of his unit provided covering fire against separatist forces. He'd used nothing but a damaged exosuit and stubborn determination to free her from debris that would have crushed a human instantly. "Ready?" Anna asked. Lewis straightened his uniform. "No, but let's go anyway." The meeting hall was an awkward compromise between human and Zarathian architecture, ceilings high enough to accommodate Kilwarnala's height, furniture reinforced to support Zarathian mass, but decorated with Earth's formal diplomatic aesthetics. Lewis stood at attention as the princess entered, flanked by honor guards whose armor hummed with barely contained power. Kilwarnala's translator activated with a soft chime. "Lewis Garrett, Your Highness." He bowed, keeping his eyes lowered as protocol demanded. "You may look upon me, Garrett. You've earned that right." He met her gaze, or tried to. Her compound eyes made it difficult to tell where she was actually looking, but he felt the weight of her attention. "I understand," she said carefully, "that you object to this arrangement." Lewis blinked. That's not exactly. My father's decree was issued without consulting either of us." Her forearms gestured expressively, a Zarathian sign of frustration. "He believes this marriage will strengthen the alliance between our peoples, demonstrate human courage and Zarathian gratitude, create a symbol that transcends our biological differences. And you disagree." Kilwarnala's bioluminescent patterns flickered, a laugh he'd learned from the cultural briefings. "I think my father is a sentimental fool who watched too many human romance dramas during the cultural exchange program." Despite everything, Lewis found himself smiling. He watches human TV? Obsessively. He cried during the finale of that medical drama. What was it called? Grey's Anatomy. The absurdity of it broke something in Lewis's chest. He laughed, a real laugh that released weeks of tension. "Listen," Kilwarnala continued, her tone softening. "I don't know you, Lewis Garrett, but I know what you did. You risked your life in lethal conditions to save mine when you had no strategic reason to do so. You could have left me." "I couldn't," he said simply. "You were alive. That meant I had to try." Her patterns pulsed with something he couldn't quite interpret. "My species doesn't understand that impulse. We calculate risk, assess value, optimize outcomes. But you, humans do things because they're right, even when they're illogical. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. She took a step closer, and Lewis had to crane his neck to maintain eye contact. I have a proposal. We proceed with this marriage as my father wishes. We present the united front that benefits both our peoples. But we also get to know each other as individuals, not as political symbols. Lewis considered this. And if we decide we can't stand each other, then we dissolve the marriage after a suitable period. Quietly, with dignity. Her patterns brightened. But perhaps we surprise ourselves. He thought of Anna's warning, of the weight of representing humanity, of the impossibility of the situation. Then he thought of those hours in the collapsed tunnel, listening to Kewarnala's labored breathing, refusing to let another being die on his watch. All right, Lewis said, extending his hand. Let's surprise ourselves. Kewarnala's smallest hand wrapped around his, gentle despite its strength, warm despite its armored exterior. Outside, Anna watched through the observation window and allowed herself a cautious smile. Perhaps some impossible things were worth attempting after all.